I believe we are live now. Hello, everyone. How are you guys doing tonight? Thank you so much for joining. This evening, I had the topic for the stream would be Kayla Hamilton, a tragic story. A story that, by the way, it was covered by various news outlets, but I didn't really see this story covered by the mainstream media at a large scale, if you will. This story was actually sent by some of the followers on my account, and they sent me a lot of articles and stuff. So I did research, and I eventually did a couple of videos on this story. Very tragic story. And I reached out to the mother of Kayla, and then she was nice enough to agree to come tonight as a guest to discuss this story, which I believe is a very important story, and every American should hear this story. So let me see if I can send her an invite now. Tammy, let me know if you're able to hear me well as we get on here with the live. Hello.
Can you see me? Oh.
I can't see you, but I can hear you. You can turn the camera on if you want to, by the way.
It won't let me.
Uh,
I mean, you'll connect using audio.
yeah, I think it doesn't let you because of the followers. I think that's why.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but that's okay. We can
Yeah,
we
that's
can
fine.
we can continue without the camera. That's fine. How are you, first of all?
Hanging in there.
Yeah. I want to say I'm truly sorry about what happened. You know, that's such a sad story, and thank you again for coming here and doing this. I really appreciate it. I think everyone should listen to this story. Very important. I want to welcome everyone in the panel, in the chat here. Hopefully, Norma, thank you so much. Before we get started, I do want to give a shout out to the subscribers: Chris22, Naughty Red, aka Soulless Ginger, Mima, Gary P, Freedom Print Shop, Deb the Navy Brat, and Cynthia. I really appreciate you guys. Again, any gifts you send, any subscriptions you make, it allows me to spend more time on these platforms covering stories like this, and it's very important for the country, I believe. So that being said, let's get started. So Tammy, can you tell us a little bit about Kayla?
Kayla was a very happy and loving young lady. She loved life. She loved to laugh. She really cared for animals, and she always wanted to help others. And she did have autism. She had high functioning autism. They listed her as Asperger's, but they don't use that term anymore. They just put everybody on the spectrum. And she had 2 jobs, and she was living independently and trying to figure out life just like the rest of us.
Wow. So how does that work, by the way? I'm not that familiar with the autism topic. So she's able to function normal?
Yeah, she was high functional. You wouldn't have known that she had autism
Oh, wow. Okay.
unless you saw certain signs. Autism, they're very impulsive.
Mm-hmm.
They do not pick up on social cues. So they do, there's a different set of challenges. And the reason why I bring up the autism is because this monster picked the weakest link. And,
I see. So when you say, so was she like, would she be someone that maybe she was very friendly?
very friendly, very
Very friendly.
outgoing.
She wouldn't really, I'm guessing like maybe like most of us would be very skeptical about like other people or strangers. She would be very like nice and just
Yeah, and she'll talk
open to have a conversation with anyone.
Yes.
Got it. Okay. So if you don't mind, if we can get into the situation here. So I was reading that she was 20 years old when this happened, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So do you mind sharing the story? How did everything start? What happened?
She just celebrated her 20th birthday on She was born July 24th, 2002, in Chesapeake, Virginia. She loved JoJo Siwa and JoJo Bose, and she got a JoJo cake for her birthday. I sent her the money to get a JoJo cake. She just celebrated her 20th birthday. Her and her boyfriend were renting a room in a trailer, and we found out that there was an illegal immigrant who owned trailers, and she was renting out rooms to whoever. Like, she was renting out rooms.
So when you say they were living in a trailer, is this like an area where it's like mostly trailer homes?
Yes, yeah, they were living in a trailer park. They were living in a trailer, and it was in Rancho Estates in Aberdeen, Maryland, a small town in Maryland.
Got it. And just for those that may not know, what's exactly it's like a trailer home? What does that look like, or
It
like I
was
guess what's the difference between that and like a regular apartment? Is there any difference?
well, with the trailer, it's like one of those modular homes, they call it.
Got it.
Like it was a 3-bedroom trailer, a
Three bedroom
3-bedroom
trailer.
home.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
home.
they were just renting a room, right?
Yes.
Got it. And then so they were living with another two strangers, if you will.
Well, they knew the family that lived there with them. There was a family, there was a mom and dad and a small child renting the master room, and then they were renting a room, and then they had one empty room.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
so they
they
had
knew the
something.
family, but
Yeah.
so out of the three rooms, one was empty, at least
Yeah.
when they moved there.
Yes.
Got it. Okay. And then this person that owned the trailer home, you're saying they were also illegal as well?
Yes. We found
Okay.
out they were also illegal immigrants.
Got it. Did they own it, or were they like
No, they own
subleasing?
it. No, they own
They
it.
owned it.
They owned multiple trailers in the trailer park,
Oh,
and they
interesting.
were like property management type, but they were just a couple who owned the trailers, and they were just doing property management.
Okay. So then they move in, they're renting a room. This main family has the main room, the owners, and then the other room is empty. So my question is, how do you know they were just renting to random people? Because you're saying that they knew Kayla, right?
Well, no, Kayla and her boyfriend found this trailer park, and they went into the rental office and asked if they had any trailers for rent or any room.
Got it. So they just found it as if they were just searching for like anyone looking for an apartment to rent.
Yeah,
Got it.
something around their price range.
Got it. Okay. But eventually they got familiar with the family because they're living under the same roof.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Got it. Okay. That makes sense. Guys, for those joining, again, thank you. Please tap the live, share it with at least one person so we can get more people to listen to this story. We're talking about Kayla Hamilton and what happened to her. And the special guest is Tammy Nobles, her mother. So please make sure to tap the live. Okay. So Tammy, so then what happened in the sense of was his family looking to rent this extra room at random, or were they seeking to rent it only to people they knew, or what happened there,
We don't
if you
know.
know?
She just rented out to whoever. I
To
assume.
whoever. Okay. So then when did this criminal end up in there? Do you know?
Okay, so March of 2022, Oreo. Sorry, Kayla's cat is Oreo. Get out of there.
Oh, is that the one we see on the picture there?
Yes,
Oh, that's cute.
I don't know what he's doing. March of 2022,
Okay.
This MS-13 gang member was arrested at the border. He was apprehended at the border. They did not check or follow any kind of protocol. They didn't check under his shirt. They did not make that one phone call to El Salvador to check to see if he had a criminal background. They did not verify a sponsor for him. They don't even know who they gave this gang member to. They, according to Congressman Jim Jordan's report, they don't know if it was male, female, cousin, dad, aunt. They just don't know. They just gave him to anybody, to anyone without verifying. He went to go live with the unverified sponsor for a little bit, and they had issues with him. So they went from Texas to Frederick, Maryland. And according to the Department of Health and Human Services, he was a nice boy and had age-appropriate behavior. And so he ended up living in Frederick, Maryland, and then he left the home in Frederick, Maryland because they had issues with him. I don't know what problems they had. And he ended up living with his half-brother who stayed in the same trailer park as Kayla.
But originally you said that he ended up with a unverified sponsored?
Yes, in Frederick, Maryland.
So he was with someone before he ended up in that trailer?
Yep.
So how did you get this information? Was it from Homeland Security?
It was from detectives. No, it wasn't from Homeland Security. Everything that we know came from detectives and Jim Jordan's report that he did.
Wow. So the DHS never gave you any of these details, like to you specifically?
No. When Jim Jordan asked for this gang member's file, Homeland Security told Jim Jordan that he only had 2 hours to look at it and he had to be on camera and everything had to be hidden, kept from being out in the public. And he didn't even have a chance to look through all of it. So he had to pick certain things to pull out within these 2 hours. And I'm thinking, how big can his file be? If he was almost 17 before he brutally murdered my daughter. So how big is his file?
Wow. Okay. So you mentioned also that you found out he had issues with his unverified sponsor.
Yes.
Do you know what were the issues?
The detectives would not let me know what problems were.
Got it.
Yeah, because and then he went to go live with a half brother, and that lived in the same trailer park as Kayla and her boyfriend. The half brother tried to get him a job, tried to get him to do the right thing because half brother was working and doing what he was supposed to do. And it got to the point where the half brother could not handle him, but we don't know what problems he had. So the half brother calls the owner of the trailers because she owns multiple ones in the trailer park. Like, I don't know if she owns all of them or just certain ones. And he said, "Do you have any room? Do you have any rooms for rent for my half brother?" And she told him, "Yes, we do." And she picked Kayla's trailer. I don't know if this owner of the trailers did a background check. She probably did. I'm more likely she did not. And she rented out to this minor who was an MS-13 gang member.
So the guy was living with his half brother. First of all, that's how he ended up in that state, right? Because of the half brother.
Because of the sponsor, the unverified sponsor.
Also, the verified sponsor is also in Virginia?
No, Frederick, Maryland.
Oh, Maryland. Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay, so
Frederick, Maryland is not that far from Aberdeen, Maryland.
got it. Okay, but then he went to Aberdeen because of the half brother, right?
Yes.
So because the unverified sponsor is not the half brother, right?
No,
It's
this
two
was
different
a
people.
unknown. Yeah. Yes. It was an
Got it. Okay,
unknown person. It was an unknown. They don't know who the sponsor was. It was an
got it.
unverified
Okay,
sponsor.
got it. So this migrant then ends up in with the unverified sponsored. From there, he has issues with the unverified sponsored. He
Yep.
goes to the half brother, who already happens to be living
In the same trailer
in the
park.
same trailer park. Okay, but not in the same trailer though, just in the trailer
No,
park, right?
just the same trailer park.
Got it. Hi, Kitty. How are you? Okay, so then I guess something happened between him and the half brother that the half brother made him get another room where it happened to be where Kayla was living, right?
Yes.
Right. Um, and how long was he living there before this happened? The migrant.
5 days.
5 days within moving in.
Yes. He picked the right moment when everybody was gone. Kayla and her boyfriend felt something was off with him, and he would smoke pot in the house. And Kayla did not like it. She did not like the way it smells. I can't see it. She did not like the way it smelled, but she didn't want to say anything,
Right.
of course, to him because she didn't want to have any issues or any problems.
Right.
And he picked 3 days after her birthday, and he waited for the opportunity when everybody was gone for the day. Kayla just got off the night shift. She worked at a grocery store stocking. She always kept her bedroom door locked, and she was in there sleeping, just got off the night shift. He comes and this was in the middle of the day, and he goes.
So she works at night shifts. She must have been sleeping during the day, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
To get some rest.
She kissed her boyfriend goodbye in the morning, and she went to sleep.
And the boyfriend was working like opposite hours of hers?
Yeah. He was working during the day.
Okay, got
So
it.
he did landscaping and handyman work and stuff like that. And
So was she alone? What about the other family?
they had jobs during the day too. But
Got it.
sometimes the mom would stay home with the little one, but she had to go run errands that day. So he just waited for the perfect time. The detectives saw the MS-13 gang member come outside of the trailer, rubbing his hands together, and he goes back in, and he goes and breaks into her room. And of course, it's more likely, scares Kayla because you're sleeping and someone busts in your room.
So hold on a second before you continue. What do you mean that they saw him rub his hands together? How did they see him?
From the ring cameras.
Oh,
Yeah,
the
there's ring camera footage, but we can't see any of it until court. Like everything
It's sealed.
everything is sealed, even his name, what it looks like. So I have no idea who this
Right.
person
Because he's 17, right? That's what I read.
is. And
He's a
for
minor.
the state of Maryland, they protect juveniles, but
Right.
then there is no way to tell how old he really is. We don't really know his real age. But El Salvador was like, yeah, he really is that age. And come to find
see.
out, he also has a criminal record in El Salvador for illicit gang activity in 2020.
Wow. Okay, so he comes out. They see the recording, the ring camera footage. He's rubbing his hands together, maybe like getting prepared or something.
Yes.
Yeah. Did you see that footage, by the way?
No, I can't until court.
No. Okay. And then, and this was the detectives told you about this footage, right?
Yes.
Okay. So then he goes back in, and then supposedly, what story did you get that happened?
what happened was when he went into her room, she grabs her phone and calls her boyfriend, but it goes to voicemail because he left his phone in the truck during work. And he would only have his phone when he's on his lunch break or certain breaks. And the gang member noticed that she grabbed her phone, so he grabs her phone charger, tries to get it around her neck, but instead gets her around the face. And the voicemail is capturing all this. And during the struggle of him strangling, and then he finally gets it around her neck. And the whole recording was 2 minutes and 30 seconds long, the police said, of him strangling her and the struggle going on. And and the phone dropped at some point, and they heard him say something in Spanish, but they couldn't make it out. The only words that they could make out while he was strangling her was "I'm sorry," while he was strangling her. And then after he strangles her, he rapes her annually because she's on her cycle, and the police found a discarded pad in the corner of the room. And then he just leaves her on the floor, they said kind of on her side. Just later, just kept her, just left her on the floor like trash. And the police said they don't understand why, but she had her hands tied in front of her, loosely tied in front of her. And then he robs her of $6 and takes her phone. We don't even know that. We don't even know where her phone went. And he robs her of $6, and then he goes to lunch with his half brother like nothing happened. And then he keeps like creeping
He went
around.
to have lunch afterwards?
Yeah, he went to lunch, and he told his half brother that he needed to go to church.
Wow. So you're saying that this voicemail is, you guys have this recording, correct?
No, we don't.
You
And I
don't.
don't think I would ever want to listen to it.
Got
Her,
it.
her last moments and for
Right.
struggling to
Of course.
breathe. Yeah.
Absolutely. So he enters the room somehow, and then she's able to
Right
call the
next.
boyfriend,
Yes.
but he
Because
didn't.
because her phone was right next to her.
Right.
I mean, she always had her phone in her hands.
Wow. So she's able to call him, and he's working, so I'm sure he wouldn't be able to answer. It goes to voicemail, but then have you spoken to the boyfriend about this voicemail? Like, does he have it? Did he turn it to
No,
authorities, or?
the authorities have everything.
Got it.
Yeah, they have
Wow.
everything.
Wow. Okay, so then he goes to have his lunch with his brother after brutally doing this to Kayla. What happens next? Who finds out first?
So he's creeping around the trailer
Mm-hmm.
to see if anybody found her. The boyfriend comes home from work, and normal day. Think it's a normal day, and he comes home from work, opens the door, and finds her laying there dead. He thinks he could save her. He takes the cords off her face. He has to use his teeth to get it off because it's so tightly wound. And he calls 911, and of course, the shock of it. I mean, he's only 22 years old. Like, this kid is going to be messed up for the rest of his life. And the paramedics came, and the detectives were questioning everybody. And her boyfriend saw him creeping around, the MS-13 gang member creeping around, and he said, "That's our roommate." So the police detain him. They take him down for questioning. They find out that he was listed as MS-13 gang member. They find out he had a criminal record in 2020. And they question him, and they don't have enough evidence to actually hold him. They had to wait for DNA evidence to come back. And they asked ICE if they could hold him until the DNA results come back. And ICE refused to. They're like, no, we can't.
Wow. And that's legally they can't because what? There's no evidence. Is that why?
I don't know why ICE couldn't hold him in a holding, just hold him until, they figure out, if he's,
Wow.
if he did it or do something.
So how did they was it the boyfriend that accused him? Who accused him first? Who was like, "Oh, he did it." Was it because he was going around the trailer or
No, nobody accused him. Nobody didn't know who did it.
right? So
They,
who got to that conclusion?
it was the detectives. I don't know how they knew, but the detective had a fairly good idea who did it in the beginning. But they had to wait for DNA evidence and stuff. Because I know they questioned neighbors and they questioned a lot of people there, and they had ring cameras, and that's how they were to get her time of death, because of when he entered the trailer, when he was pacing outside, and then when he came back out after. They know when her time of death was. It was in the middle of the day. It was about 11:30.
Got it. And Ramirez in the comment section is asking, where did this happen? This is in Aberdeen, Maryland, correct?
Yes, Aberdeen, Maryland.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So then what happens? ICE, he says, no, we can't detain him. There's no evidence. Where does he go then?
So detectives called Child Protective Services and asked them to hold him in a secure location because he is the main suspect of a premeditated murder trial, murder case. And CPS said, yes, it will be secured. When the DNA finally did come back, and it was him, the MS-13 gang member, they went to go arrest him, and they saw that Child Protective Services put him in an unsecured children's home with other children living there. There were issues at the children's home. We don't know what. So we got everywhere he goes, there's issues. And
wow. So he was put in an area where there were other children.
yes, he was put in a unsecured children's home with other children.
After this happened.
Yes, Child Protective Services put him in an illegal, in an unsecured children's home. The detectives walked in the children's home, no adults, just kids running around, and the detectives were looking at each other, and they're like, "Oh, this is a secured facility." And when they went to ask about this individual, one of the adults that were at the children's home, that run the children's home, told the detectives that he wasn't there. And the detectives was like, "What do you mean he isn't here?" And they had no record who signed him out, where he went, or anything. So they had no clue where this suspect was. This murderer was. So they called the half brother. They had a Spanish-speaking detective, of course, because they didn't want anything to be misconstrued, and they had a English-speaking detective, and they had a Spanish-speaking detective. And the Spanish-speaking detective called the half brother and said, "Hey, we're just working nights. We want to return some property to your brother." And the half brother gives the detectives his phone number, the MS-13 gang member's phone number, and they call him and they find out that he was put in a foster home. He hands the phone to his foster mom and gets the address, and they go
Wow.
and arrest him. And when they told him that you are being arrested for the murder of Kayla Hamilton, he just laughed and smirked about it.
Wow. So he was with another family?
Yes. In a foster home.
So we're seeing failure after failure after failure.
After failure. Like it started
It
at
just
the
never
Mexican
stopped.
border, and it just got worse from there. And then it got worse after. And I just could not believe this. I was like, the story just keeps getting worse and worse as we get through this. And that is why I'm sharing my story on what is actually going on and all the loopholes and all the stuff that's.
Wow, that's very shocking. Well, unbelievable. Okay, so then he's finally taken into custody. By the way, I do have to say that he's alleged to have committed this crime. We have to say that.
Yeah.
So he's taken into custody, and then how do they find out that he has ties to MS-13?
They called. They did make a call to the El Salvador government, and he was on the MS-13 list. And he also committed. He has a criminal record in El Salvador for illicit gang activity. So we don't even know what his crime record is, and because when they were investigating this case, you had the local detectives, you had Homeland Security, Maryland State Police, FBI. You had all these people investigating her case.
Do you know if he had any tats that suggested he was part of the MS-13?
According to Jim Jordan's report, the official said he did have a tattoo.
Wow.
So they didn't check his shirt. They didn't check his body. They didn't make that one phone call. If they would have made that one phone call, then they would have found out that he was on the MS-13 gang member list and that he had a criminal record.
Wow. Okay, so then, by the way, this happened in 2022. Do you know when he entered the country? What year? Was it also 2022?
Yep, March of 2022.
Wow, so just as soon as he came in.
Yes, and
Do you know if when he was detained at the border, was he allowed to enter because he was part of the asylum seeking crowd, or what?
Yep.
What was the reason?
He came across as a UIC, as a unoccupied alien child, a seeking asylum from gang
Okay.
activity. He said that he was afraid of gangs in his country.
Wow. Wow. Okay, so asylum seeker just as a minor, right? Did he have any documentation? Do you know that
Anyone?
that as far as like being able to prove his birth date?
No, El Salvador, the detective, I don't think they have birth certificates. He don't have a birth certificate. They called and asked El Salvador, and El Salvador was like, yeah, that's his real age. But there's no real proof. I was hoping the detectives would find out his real age, or if he really was 17. Because if he was a little older, then his name would not be
Yeah.
protected.
So you're saying that he didn't have the birth certificate, like the paper, or you're saying that
Papers. He had
you were told that in El Salvador they don't get birth certificates, period.
No, there is no way to verify his real age.
Right.
I mean, they asked El Salvadoran government, but they just said, yeah, that's his real age.
And that's it. No, they didn't
it.
provide documentation.
I was hoping that they would find out his real age. He is being tried as an adult, but since he is a minor, he can't get life without parole.
Got it. Cynthia Ramirez in the comment section is saying, no, they overlook it because he has a sponsor, meaning I'm guessing his history. Wow. Any information about the sponsor? Do you know at all? Did he petition him? Did he vouch for him?
No, they just let him go with this person. They don't even know who the person is. I mean, Department of Health and Human Services don't even know it was a male, female, dad, cousin.
They don't even know who the
They don't
sponsor
even
is.
know
That's
who the
supposed.
sponsor is, and they didn't even keep track of him after they released him to the sponsor.
So wait a minute. You're saying that they took this minor, supposedly this minor, and they released the minor to a sponsor that they have no record of?
No.
Wow.
They did not keep track of him after he was released to the sponsor. Department of Health and Human Services is supposed to keep doing checks, and they did not. They just stopped tracking him after after he was released to the sponsor. And there's no telling how many more that are like her murderer out here that's been released into the country and they don't know where they are. They don't have
Like a similar situation, right? We just don't know.
And the other scary
Wow.
thing is that if they're not checking sponsors, then what's happening to these little kids?
That's what I'm saying, because he's categorized as a minor.
And
So you figure, being that he's a child, right? He'll be like
Yeah.
looked into, like, let's verify that it's not someone just taking this kid at random.
Yeah,
Wow.
and I'm just worried about the smaller kid, like
Correct. Yeah. They're
Yeah,
like the
who
real
are they giving
children
these
that are
little
like
kids to?
the babies.
yeah,
Right.
I mean that's scary. And that's a whole different side of it. I mean that's something that I don't, I just know a small part of what happened with her case, and to find out this is happening, it's just mind-boggling. It's like crazy to think all the
Right, because you were originally finding out about what happened to Kayla, but then you're finding out about these other things that is also disturbing.
Yeah, because it could have been prevented. Her death could have been prevented if they would have been doing their jobs at the border and following the protocol.
Right. Unbelievable. Wow, I didn't know that part of the story. Okay, so then, by the way, do you live in the same state?
No, I live in Virginia, Norfolk, Virginia.
In Virginia, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So who tells you? Who gives you the phone call?
I just
Who
got
makes
off
that
of-
phone call to you?
Yeah, I just got off of work. Thought it was a normal day. I did text Kayla in the morning before she died, asking because she just got a car. They just got a car, and she was asking me about the oil in the water. And I asked her where, because she was talking about getting a new job. And I was like, well, where do you work now? And I never got a response, and I didn't hear from her all day. And I usually, always get a call or message from her. And then I just got off of work, and I was going to get ready to head to book club. And I got a call from Aberdeen Police Department saying that Kayla was found deceased, and she was involved with injuries consistent with a homicide. And that was the worst news that a parent can ever hear.
I'm truly sorry. I mean, I can only imagine.
Fell and just started this scream. My husband will never forget that scream. It was almost unbearable pain. Like I couldn't breathe. I was just like,
Right. Yeah.
oh my gosh, it was horrible. And I can't, and it was just making her funeral arrangements. And we picked out I found a pretty white dress with lace that I was going to put on her for her private viewing, because we had to bring her home from Maryland to Virginia. We wanted to bring her home. And the funeral director found out that he was my high school friend. I didn't know. until we first met each other, when we went in there. And he's like, we only have one time to make this right. He said she cannot wear this dress. And so she had to wear a granny dress, a white granny dress, because he said her arms has to be covered and her neck, of course. So the only thing that we saw was her head and her hands, and everything else was completely covered.
Wow.
I was gonna peek at her arms, but I didn't think about it. But we're gonna see everything when we go to court. But she could not wear the dress that I wanted her to wear because of the injuries on her arms and stuff. And I don't know what else. I don't know what else happened in that room and what other injuries she has. I'm sure I'm going to find out a lot more when we go to court and start hearing everything.
Right, because when you get to court, you will see those pictures, right?
We will see the pictures. We will hear everything. We already told the prosecutor that we don't want to hear the voicemail because I don't want to hear the last moments of my baby's life and how scared she must have felt that day and what went through her mind knowing that she was dying and what went through her mind. And I try not to think about that because it's really painful. And at the end, I don't have a daughter anymore.
I'm very sorry, Tammy.
Thank you.
Truly. You also have do you have another child, correct?
I have a 26-year-old son.
Okay.
And then I have a 9-year-old daughter with Down syndrome. And she knows about her sister. She always tells me, Kayla died. And I'm like, I know,
Wow.
baby. I'm like, she's in heaven, and, she carries her picture around and stuff.
Wow. Wow. Very sorry. Did Kayla ever mention anything to you about this monster?
No, she did not.
No. Wow. Do you recall, by the way, and if it's too personal, you can tell me to skip the question, but do you recall maybe what was the last conversation you had with Kayla?
There was a night, it was the day before. She was telling me about a car that she just got, and she was asking about the oil in the water. And I said, well, if you don't know if it has enough water or oil in there, take it to a mechanic. And I remember on her birthday, I sent her a Facebook message telling her that I am proud of the woman that she was becoming and that I love her, and told her happy birthday. And I didn't know 3 days later that she was going to be gone.
Wow. It's a lot to take in. It's unbelievable that this is happening. Okay, so then you find this out, you go through the funeral process, you start to get all this information. What happens next after that? In the sense of how do you get to the step of filing a lawsuit against DHS?
I tried to, after I heard all that happen, I was like, I feel like they are responsible for the wrongful death of my daughter. All of this could have been prevented if they would have done their jobs. So I started calling lawyers. I didn't know where to start. I just started calling lawyers. And a lot of them, I've called maybe like 5 or 6. Some of them never got back to me. Some of them just told me no, because I didn't really know what type of lawyer to look. And there is a lot of lawyers who will help illegal immigrants become legal. And I'm like, well, what about the other side? And Kayla's Aunt Sharon sent me a news clip of this lawyer in California. And he was talking about that I did have a case, that I should. And I was like, well, I was just thinking about that I did have a case and I was looking for a lawyer. I was like, okay, this is going to
So
be.
he was specifically talking about Kayla's story?
Yes.
Oh,
And I
wow.
was like, wow, this is my lawyer. So I got in touch with him, Brian Claypool, and he did like a month of research. Like he had to research this before we even, got public with it, became public with it. And because I felt like we did have a case, and then I feel like they need to be held accountable. And I'm hoping to, and sharing my story to bring awareness and to save other parents, children, and to save other lives, and hopefully to have others follow the same path as me who has been, hurt by the government or by illegal immigrants, gang members, to have them be held accountable. And maybe if more people would do that, then they would start following the protocols that they're
Of
supposed
course.
to follow.
Yep. Or make them even tougher, which
Yeah,
they
because
should.
I mean, this is a safety issue. It's not about Republican, Democrat. It's not
Right.
about Hispanic race or whatever, or It has nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
It has something to do with letting a known gang member into this country. They let a
Yeah.
known criminal in here.
One victim is just way too much, Just one is way too much.
Yes.
Okay, so then this lawsuit is ongoing, right? Do you know when's the next hearing?
We filed the claim in October. DHS and with Department of Homeland Security and Department of Health and Human Services has 6 months to reply. That's coming up in March. They have not replied or anything, so they don't reply. So the next move would be for it to move to court, to actually file it in March is what we're looking at.
Got it.
So I don't
And
really know all the legal part of
right,
it.
I'm sure your attorney just keeping you up to date. Hey, this is
Yeah,
coming
yeah,
up,
he
and
is. He said
got it.
March.
Yeah,
I will
he looks
actually.
like a great attorney, by the way. I heard him speaking. I mean, he looks like he's really, really looking forward to this case,
He
to
is.
get justice.
Yes, and he's
Yeah,
doing it also because he has a daughter around Kayla's age. And I mean, this could have been anyone's child.
yep,
It's just mind-boggling how it ended up being her trailer. Like, I don't understand. Like, of all the houses and apartments in
right.
America, from Texas to Maryland,
Mm,
how did it end up being hers? Like,
yeah,
it's just crazy. Well, I mean, I wouldn't want it to be anybody's,
of course. No, I get where you're
but
coming
it's
from.
just
It's basically it could have been
crazy.
anybody
Yeah,
completely.
and it could have been
Yeah,
anybody, and any of those kids could have been at risk at the children's home. And
yeah.
this, I mean, it's
And
just
I'm sure you
crazy.
never even imagined this would happen to you or your
Never
family.
in a million years did
Yeah,
I think this would happen, that I would lose my daughter in such a horrific way, and I have to live with, like the pain of it. Like, this is forever for me. I am forever changed. I just want my baby back. I want my little girl back. I don't want her up in heaven. I mean, you do want to go to heaven, but I don't want her up there. Like, and not having her physically here hurts. Like, at the end of the day, I have to live with this for the rest of my life. And I'm not the same person as I was before Kayla died.
yeah, I can imagine. Um, so before this happened, we have been hearing a lot of stuff about the border and, the news and the migrants going to the sanctuary cities and states. Did you hear any of this news before this happened with Kayla? And did you have any opinion on it at the time? Or you were not aware of what was happening?
I mean, I was aware, but I didn't think it, I thought the government was doing their job, and it just seemed like it got a lot worse in the last couple years.
Hmm.
than what it was before.
Right. So before Kayla's tragedy happened, you just saw, oh, it's on the news, but I'm sure they're handling it.
Yeah, because you figured that the government would keep the citizens safe, and of course, you tell your kids about safety and strangers, and she wasn't doing anything. She was just living her life as a normal adult, going to work like everybody else, and like
And this
like I
happened.
know there's Americans that commit crimes on Americans, but why do we need other countries' gang members in here too to add to it?
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up because there is this journalist in Univision. He's very pro migrant. He calls it immigrants, but I don't really consider those immigrants. Immigrants to me are those that come the right way and do the right thing. Anyway, his name is Jorge Ramos, right? And I was doing some research on some of the stuff that he's been saying. And he said this back in April 2017. And the video, by the way, guys, you can find it on YouTube. And I just want to get your reaction to this. And he's a major Hispanic figure, by the way, for the Latino community. And when it comes to Univision, that network. And he said this, and I quote, "Enough. That's enough. We have been listening for the last 3 months." Again, this was back in April 2017 when Trump was in office. So he said, "We have been listening for the last 3 months. President Trump, Attorney General Jeff Sessions, and other members of the Trump administration demonizing and criminalizing undocumented immigrants. And they're lying to you." He continues, "Everything started in June 2015. When President Trump said that Mexican immigrants were criminals." By the way, that's incorrect. He didn't say that. He said he was referring to people coming across the border were bringing crime and drugs, and some were good people, but he didn't say immigrants. I wanted to correct that there, but that's what he was saying. Anyway, he continued and he said, President Trump said they were criminals, drug traffickers, and rapists. And then he said, some, I assume, are good people. Well, he's absolutely wrong. The vast majority of undocumented immigrants in this country are good people, 97% of them. He means that those 97% are good people. Then Jorge continues and he says, less than 3% have committed a felony in comparison with about 6% of US citizens being born in this country have committed a felony. The fact is that immigrants, undocumented immigrants, have behave better than US citizens, and they are less likely to be criminals and behind bars. Let's debate immigration, but let's base that debate on facts. Stop lying about undocumented immigrants. Stop now. So Jorge's point of view is that, according to the data that he provided, 97% of those coming undocumented are good people. So that leaves about 3% of them that are bad people. So do you think, Tammy, that those 3% can make a huge difference in the lives of any American citizen?
We don't even know who is coming over here that is a gang member. We don't know that. And we don't know what the percentage is. We don't know. If they're not checking, then we don't know who has a criminal record and who don't.
Yeah, exactly. And the reason why I showed that is because that's usually the narrative that they try to push in the media is that, oh, don't worry about it, don't stress about it. Most are good people, and it's just a
But we
small
don't know that.
percentage.
Yeah, exactly. We don't know
Yeah,
that.
exactly. We don't know that, but that's what they push. And that's what they
Yeah.
push in the media. Say, oh, don't worry. It's just the ones that are bad. It's just very minimal. But even if that was accurate, right? I'm
Yeah.
just saying that minimal.
Yeah.
Look at the effect that it can have on someone's life. You know what I mean? So, like,
Yes.
I'm saying is we cannot dismiss, even if it's 3% of bad people. I mean, if you're talking about out of 3 million, 3% is a lot of people. You know?
That is a lot of people, and
Yeah.
and there's a lot of lives. in danger, and it's a safety issue for everyone living there.
Exactly. But, to me, it's like shocking to hear this guy say something like that and
Yeah.
minimizing the threat just because it's just, 97% are good. So, like, almost don't worry about the 3%. And even if this data is correct, Kayla will fall under the victim of those 3% individuals. And
Yeah.
it's so concerning. We cannot dismiss that small percentage. It's very dangerous. And as Tammy said, it can happen to anyone. I mean, you just mentioned you never imagined this would happen to you or your family. Like it didn't even became a thought in your mind.
No, it wasn't. And we can't go to other countries to visit because we'll need background checks, we'll need our passport, we'll need all this other stuff. But why do we just welcome anybody and just let them come in without checking? Then those that do come over the right way, they're trying to get away from these people, and we're just letting them in. We're letting in
Exactly.
animals. Like,
Yep.
I mean, those people are here to make a better life and to find jobs, and we're just bringing them right over where they ran away from. Like,
Yep.
that's not, it's the whole system is messed up. Everything is messed
Yep.
up.
It is messed up. I know that you were in Capitol Hill, I believe, was it last week or 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, it was last week on January 18th.
Okay, and you were sharing Kayla's story in the impeachment hearing of Mayorkas, correct?
Yes.
Okay. You shared this on X, and I want to just go over it, and if you can please elaborate on this. You tweeted this back on January 19, and you said, "Here I am, sharing my pain and heartbreaking story about my daughter, Kayla Hamilton, was brutally murdered and raped, and the Democrats were on their phones. It was very frustrating. Hashtag Kayla Hamilton." What do you mean they were on the phone?
They were
What was
just
that all about?
they were just on their phone texting, scrolling, whatever. I mean, I don't even know. Maybe they're playing video games. I don't know. But they were just on their phone, just nonchalant when we were given our testimony and showing pictures and videos of Kayla. They were just on their phones and they were not listening. They did not say her name. They did not look at her pictures. They did not look at her video.
Yeah, what was that about? You said that they didn't say her name. What do you mean? So they got a chance to reply to you, or?
Yeah, when they asked questions, they would. Some of the Republicans would say, "I'm so sorry for the loss of Kayla," or they would use her name, but they never asked us any questions. Pretty much what I got from that side, from the Democrats, was they were on their phones telling us, that me and the other mother, that we weren't experts and that we had no reason to be there, and that Mark Green, Congressman Mark Green, was just using us as a political show. And I'm more of an expert now than I was before my daughter was brutally murdered by an MS-13 gang member. Like, I know firsthand knowledge of what happened, and you don't even know what side I'm on. I'm not on nobody's side. I'm on Kayla's side. I'm sharing her story and bringing awareness, and you're just being disrespectful because she was a real person, and you guys let her down, and you can't have the respect to listen to my story and telling us that we're not experts.
Are you able to share the names of those that you saw acting this way?
I can't remember their names.
You can't remember the names.
I know one of them was Goldman, I believe.
Goldman, got it. And you said there was another mother there too, sharing her story?
Yes, there was another mom there. Her daughter died from fentanyl poisoning.
Wow. Yeah, I read that, and then I saw, I watched that clip of you on Fox News sharing that story, that they didn't want to say her name, almost like they just didn't want to talk about it.
No,
And I
and
was
they,
like,
yeah.
why? We're all Americans. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, and I came there to share my story to hope for
yeah.
change, and you're just sitting there acting like it don't matter, like we're like inconveniencing you, and it was just very frustrating.
Um, that's incredible. Okay, so my other question that I wanted to ask was you go to Capitol Hill, you share your story, you had this inconvenience. What were the Republicans telling you, by the way? Did they speak to you before or after this?
Um, no, they Mark Congressman Mark Green and Marjorie Green came over and said, "I am." They actually came over to us and said, "I am so sorry for your loss. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for coming." And actually came over and gave us their condolences.
Got it. I know you were on some networks like Fox News and other channels as well.
Yeah, News
Um,
Nation,
News
Newsmax.
Nation, yeah, Newsmax. Did CNN ever reach out to you?
No, no major networks have. Just Fox News, News Nation, Newsmax.
So no CNN, no NBC, no Good Morning
No, none of
America.
them have. None of them have. And a few radio shows. Glenn Beck. I did an interview with them and a couple of other radio shows, but no
That's about it.
mainstream. Yeah, because
What,
I've
what
never
what's your
said
take on that, Tammy? What do you think about that? No major. I mean, I didn't find any article about Kayla on CNN or NBC. I just the story I did on Kayla was mainly because of the local news, uh, within the area. But what's your take on that? That none of these major networks cover such a story like this. I mean, a huge story.
I don't understand why they're not covering it. I even said many times that it's not about Democrat or Republican. It's about safety. And I guess it just doesn't meet their agenda. Or it's not part of, they don't want to hear it. But it's a safety issue for everybody. It's just not about what side you're on. You should be on the American side. You should be on Kayla's side. Like this is about an American young girl who had her life taken from her in the worst way by someone that wasn't even supposed to be here in the first place. That should have got sent back to El Salvador because he had a criminal record. He had the tattoo. Um,
Wow.
it's just
Um,
frustrating because I want to bring awareness to everybody and know what is happening and trying to save others here. And I'm standing up, trying, to share her story and stuff. And I mean, I share it with whoever, I can and stuff.
Absolutely. And again, I thank you for coming here. I mean, it's so important. This, by the way, this will be on YouTube as well. The pre-recorded version of it, the recorded version of it will be on YouTube. And I'll make sure to put, Kayla's name there so people can also find it. I mean, we just have to put Kayla's name as in as many platforms as we can because people need to hear this story, and that's just a fact. Everyone needs to hear this story, especially in America.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you know where this monster is now?
He is being held in the Hartford detention center in Bel Air. Bel Air, Maryland is where the court's going to be, but he's in the Hartford County Detention Center right now, without parole, of course, because I mean, without bail.
I mean, that would be like, right? I mean, if they give him
Of course,
that,
he's without bail because
I
he
hope
can
so.
go and disappear. And I'm so glad that they found him because he could have just disappeared,
Yep.
and we would have never had a suspect. We would have never known who killed my daughter.
But the fact that he was given to a family, though, I just don't get it still.
And in a children's home.
That's so insane.
And that's why I call them out too, because because you knew what he did, and then you just put him in his home with other children. Like, that's
So he was with other children, and then after that, he was given to a family, a foster family, you
yes,
said?
yes.
Wow.
Like, what makes you
Well,
think it's okay to put this murder suspect? Even if he has been charged yet, he is still a main suspect, and you put him in there with other children. Like, what makes that okay?
I wonder what the family said when they found out about this, that foster family. Because,
Well, the
I mean,
foster mom
I'm sure
was
they didn't
mad.
know anything.
Well, the foster mom was mad because the police were taking him away,
Oh,
and
she was upset about it.
somehow the prosecutor doesn't know why she thinks this, but she didn't go into it. She thinks that the foster home knew the family of the MS-13 gang member or something,
Mm,
and she was mad and was questioning the detectives on why they were taking him away. And then the detectives told her he's been arrested for the murder and rape of Kayla Hamilton. And they just took him away, and he's been locked up in the Hartford County Detention Center, and that's where he's sitting. And we're supposed to have a trial at the end of June.
wow.
But he can't get life without parole, but he can get consecutive sentences, like for each, because he
Yeah.
has 11 charges against him.
11 charges.
11 charges. He has 2 counts of first degree murder, second degree murder, first and second degree assault, first and second degree rape, um, third degree of sexual assault, and perverted practice. And he also got theft and robbery.
Wow.
So I have no idea what all that means. All I know is that my baby suffered. She fought for her life, and I know she suffered horribly. And she fought for all that she had, because the prosecutor said that she did have a lot of bruises on her arms and stuff. And I know she fought for her life, and and she lost in the end.
Well, I'm sure she's going to get that justice that she deserves.
I hope so.
You
I
know, yeah.
really, truly, truly hope
Yeah,
so.
I mean, your attorney looks like he's on point. I heard his interview, and I'm really pushing and hoping that this comes through for you and your family.
I
Guys, I
just
will not. Go
Oh,
ahead, Tammy.
sorry. I just wanted to tell at Bosco, he said, so you pleaded innocent. No, we don't know what he's pleading yet. We haven't even got the pretrial yet of how he's going to plead. So we
Got it.
don't even know how he's going to plead.
Got
So,
it. Guys, for the record, I will not be opening the panel for anyone to join out of respect for Tammy and Kayla Hamilton. Sometimes, as you know, my lives get a little bit wild, and so I don't want that happening here. So if you do want to ask anything to Tammy, please make sure to comment down below, or if you want to share a statement. Yeah, I just want to keep it just one-on-one for this evening. So thank you for
oh,
understanding
yeah,
that.
sorry. I just saw that, and I just wanted to throw that in
Oh no,
there.
you're good. No, you're good. No, just because
Sorry.
I think he or someone sent a request to join, and sometimes his lives get a little bit heated. So I don't want anyone to make
Oh,
anything
well, yeah,
any
no. Yeah.
disrespectful statements. I want to try to avoid that, so they can just send it in the comment section. That'd be great. Yeah, believe it or not, Tammy. I mean, I'm not sure if you see my page, but people from both sides and sometimes in the middle join these lives, and sometimes can get pretty hectic over here. How are you coping now, by the way? And it's been what's it been like 2 years now?
Almost.
Almost 2 years?
Well, it'll be 2 years, July 27th.
Yeah.
We try to do little memorial things for her. Her Papa Jerry planted a tree with her ashes, and we did a butterfly memorial for her birthday, and we didn't know this, but July, August, September, October, like 3 months after Kayla was murdered, we found out that my mom had terminal cancer, and she died October 23rd, 2022, 3 months
Wow,
after.
sorry to hear that.
And we had no idea that my mom was sick. And then we had to deal with that too. So I haven't even had time to process my mom. I've been so overwhelmed with Kayla and not having her here that it just overshadows everything else.
Wow. So, you know, now that we're almost 2 years from the date and you've had this other tragedy as well happen, and you still are seeing what's happening at the border, that things are actually getting worse. What's your take on that when you see these news?
It scares me because I don't want this to happen to any other family or child. I don't know. I mean, this world has become really, really scary, and I hope with me sharing my story and others sharing their story about what's happening, if hopefully we can make some changes in this country, because it has gotten so bad and we're just not safe.
Yeah, I agree. And I do want to share this. I was searching to see if Maryland is a sanctuary state, and I found this on Google. This is per marylandmatters.org. And it says Wes Moore signed an executive order making Maryland the 11th state plus the District of Columbia to declare itself a sanctuary. A bill in New York has declared the legislature and is awaiting the signature of Democratic Governor Kathy Hochul last year. California became the first state to declare itself a sanctuary. So Maryland is a sanctuary state then. Do you know that, Tammy?
I know. I do know that there is a lot of sanctuary states in there that are just, and also there are Americans who are smuggling them in.
Yeah, I didn't know about Maryland, but this is per marylandmatters.org. Apparently it is. This was posted on January 24th, 2023. So yesterday. Wow. Very
Wow. So
interesting.
yeah, right after her she was murdered July 27,
Yeah.
2022, and they put
Excuse
that
me. I
out.
said January. It's June 24th, 2023. So last year. I
Yeah,
was
so
thinking we're
that's
still in
funny.
2023.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's crazy that almost a year after her murder, they put that out.
Wow. Um, I mean, it's honestly, this story is just so wild to me. I just don't get it. I don't get it why everyone, meaning both the right and the left, cannot agree that the border should be secured. I mean, it's just common sense. We should have a proper vetting system. And if that was taking place, this monster would have never came in, and this would have never happened to begin with. Like you said, just a quick phone call and just more research. Boom, there you have them. Just send them back. And
Yeah, but
this would
they
have
do
never
have
happened.
protocol. Yeah, they do have protocol to follow. They do have the protocols to follow, but they don't follow them all the time.
Yeah.
So
Do you think it's maybe because they're so overwhelmed?
I believe that's it, and they're just letting them. I mean, they're just letting them go. In here quick. Just getting them, and then and then just releasing the UICs as quickly as possible. But then they don't keep up with them.
Yeah, just like process them and then just send them, right? Like just because they're so
Yeah,
overwhelmed and there's just
yeah.
very
You're like, here,
few.
just go, just go, just go,
Yeah,
and
maybe like a quick interview, and that's it. That's from what I've seen and what I heard.
oh yeah,
They
just
just do like a
yeah,
quick
yeah.
interview.
They don't check. They
Do
don't
you
check
support
anything.
terrorism? No. Do you have criminal history? No. Okay,
Of course
Goodbye.
they don't. And
Right.
they did check to see if the MS-13 gang member had a record in America, but he
Correct. But how is he going to
didn't.
have a record
But
if he's from over there? It just
exactly.
doesn't
I
make
mean,
sense.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, of course he doesn't have a record. Of course he doesn't have a record. But you didn't check his country. So,
Unbelievable. Mrs. Ramirez in the comment section is saying, God bless you, Tammy. I'm sorry for your losses. Daughter and mother, my prayers to you.
thank you, Miss Ramirez.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, guys, please share this live, and I will be posting this on YouTube as well. Everyone should be listening to Kayla Hamilton's story. It's shocking. It's upsetting. It's just, it should have never happened. It should have never happened. And the fact that after her tragic end occurred, the border has actually gotten worse is even more upsetting. And as Tammy said, whether you are Republican or Democrat, doesn't matter. It's a safety issue at this point. We're not even talking about those that are taking advantage of the welfare system and the shelter system. We're not even talking about that. Is the safety part of it that's very concerning, which I've shared on these lives many times. And this is just another example of why we should close those borders, or at least enforce the laws the proper way. But unfortunately, there are a lot of loopholes, and they are overwhelmed with the amount of people coming in. And so we're just going to continue running that risk of more stories like this happening, unfortunately. I mean, I hope not, but let's face it. I mean, if this guy came in, by the way, which is shocking, you mentioned that he's considered a minor, and then they had no record of who they gave him to.
Nope. And for those that came in later, like I said in the beginning, he said that it's not about Democrat, Republican, it's not about Hispanic, it's not about Spanish, it's not about those that are coming over here for the right reasons. It's about, I've always kept to my word, it is about a known gang member. It has nothing to do with race or anything like that. It's just comes down to letting known gang members in this country, and they're not checking their backgrounds before allowing them in.
Absolutely. But although, Tammy, yeah, as far as the common sense idea, right, it is not about Republicans or Democrats. It shouldn't be. I agree with that. However, do you think that political policy matters?
Like, what do you mean?
I mean, in the sense that, we can see the stats that under President Trump, the border was more in control than what we're seeing right now. And that's because it's a change of policy when it comes to the border. I mean, we're seeing how Texas is fighting the federal government right now because they're not on the same page. So I guess that's my question to you. Do you think those politics matter at the end?
They do, because whoever's in charge of the government, whoever's in government, they have to make sure that everybody's doing their job. I don't think Mayorkas is doing his job of making sure that everyone down there is properly vetting and doing background checks and doing their jobs. Everyone has to make sure that they're doing their job to keep us safe. And I know quite a few of them now are failing at their job.
Yeah. When you went to Capitol Hill, who reached out to you? Was it like a senator or?
No, it was Mark Green's chief of staff.
Okay.
Now, she reached out and she told me that Congressman Mark Green wants me to go share my story. Same with Jim Jordan. His chief of staff reached out to me and wanted me to share my story with the border crisis. And that was last June I did. And yes. So they reached out to me. And it wasn't that the only reason why I feel they reached out to me was because I was already sharing her story. I was already trying to bring awareness, and they saw that I was talking about it. They didn't bring me there for no political thing. It was because I talked about it. And it wasn't about just one murder, like some of the backlash I get, like on some of the comments are saying, oh, it's just about one murder. You don't care about this, to the political person, to Jim Jordan, and it's like, they need to look at the bigger picture. It's not about one murder. It's about preventing other murders like Kayla's.
Correct. Um, After this happened, by the way, did you hear from every Republican, any type of Republican official at all after
Oh,
Kayla's tragedy happened, or what you heard it until
uh,
now?
no, I heard from Congressman Jim Jordan and Mark Green. I have not heard any. I haven't heard anything from anyone from Homeland Security.
Wow.
Congressman Jim Jordan is still waiting for the audit report that
Wow.
Homeland Security is supposed to do on horrific crimes, and he's still waiting for them to answer.
Thank you, Mrs. Ramirez, by the way. So you heard from him, and you didn't hear from DHS. What about any Democrat? Did you hear from any Democrat about this?
Nope, I have never heard from anybody from Maryland. I have not heard anything from anybody in Virginia, where she grew up. She was born in Chesapeake, Virginia. Haven't heard from them. Haven't heard from anybody from the Biden administration or anything.
Hmm. Wow. Um, so, so then you think that, again, and I know you said that from a common sense standpoint, it's not about left or right, it's about safety. But however, we can agree that policies do matter. And what's your take right now, by the way, that Texas Governor Greg Abbott is trying his best to protect Texas and its borders, but the Biden administration continues to take them to court because they're not in agreement with what he's doing. Have you looked into that at all?
Yeah, I heard about it, and I was grateful that he is trying to do something about the border, because if Biden or you know, that's higher up than Abbott is trying to do something, somebody has to do something. It doesn't matter who does it. Somebody has to try to make the borders more secure and better for everyone living here.
Yeah.
And if they're not going to step up, then someone else will. And that is where I come in, where I'm going to step up and bring awareness and try to make them be held accountable, and at least open their eyes,
Yep.
because Kayla did not deserve to go down like that. I am going to make sure that I am her voice, and I will continue fighting for justice for Kayla and for others, and to make sure her memory lives on.
We are behind you, Tammy. We are behind you.
Thank
And
you.
thank you for having the courage to do that and doing all of these interviews. I mean, I can only imagine, what you feel looking at her picture there and talking about her. I mean, I can only imagine. You're very strong, a very strong person, and we all appreciate that about you.
Thank you.
Um, yeah, guys. So Governor Abbott continues his best, at least, trying to protect the border, but Biden is sending all these lawsuits because they're not in agreement with Governor Abbott trying to protect its borders. And unfortunately, we see a result here of the risk that a lot of American citizens are taking right now, and that's the reality. And whether it's like Jorge Ramos said, just 3% are bad people, so don't worry about it. No, you should worry about it because it can happen to anyone. What about the child trafficking, though, Tammy? Have you thought about that, being that this person was supposedly a minor and just sent to an unverified sponsor?
That's even a scary part too,
Yeah,
because
because we're worried
me
about
and
the
her,
Americans, right? But what about the children on the other side?
I'm
What's
worried
going on with
about the
that? What
children
do
on
you
the other
think?
side. Because me and her nana, Kayla's nana, we were talking about that. Like, who is getting these little itty bitty kids? Like, if you want a baby, you just go down to the border and be like, I want a baby. Like, it's
How
just
crazy is
scary.
that, huh?
Like, yeah, who are they giving these little kids to? And like I said, that's a whole different. There is so many issues in here, and I could only speak on just what happened with me. But yeah, I mean that's that side where who
But
I
you did
mean,
mention that this unverified sponsor
yeah, they're not
apparently
verified. Yeah.
knew this migrant, right?
Oh yeah, the MS-13 minor knew this person
Did they ever say if it
somehow.
was a family or a friend, or
They don't know.
they don't know?
They just came down there to Texas, picked them up, and there he goes with
That's
his person.
crazy.
And I know we will find out a lot more once we get to court and start hearing everything.
In the trial, right?
Yeah, in the trial, it's going to run for 2 to 3 weeks. Everything has to be translated from English to Spanish, Spanish to English. The prosecutor said that she has like 3 or 4 big binders full of evidence and phone downloads and all kinds of body cam footage and all of that.
Yeah. Mrs. Ramirez asking, is he in custody? I missed it. Yes, the monster is in custody right now. Correct, Tammy?
Yes, he is. He's waiting for trial at the end of June.
Yeah. Who wants to join the panel? Who? Unfortunately, I am not opening the panel for anybody, for anyone right now, for this live anyway, just out of respect for Kayla Hamilton and Tammy Nobles here. If you want to send your question, please text it or write it down below. And she can read your comments too, by the way. Was that in Texas? Cine Girl is asking. No, this was in Maryland, Aberdeen, Maryland, which we just found out. Maryland is a sanctuary state, FYI. You can Google it. He showed up.
But he was apprehended at the border in Rio Grande, Texas.
Correct. He was originally detained at the border.
Yes.
Yeah. But then he was released, correct?
Yes. And the unverified sponsor took him to Maryland.
Yeah. Yeah, that's just a little summary. So the unverified sponsor picked him up and took him to Maryland. And then supposedly there was an issue with this MS-13, alleged MS-13 criminal and unverified sponsor. And eventually he went to live with his half brother, who happened to live in the same trailer park where Kayla was living. And correct me if I'm wrong, Tammy. But from there, apparently, the half brother rented this MS-13 migrant a room that happened to be in the same trailer where Kayla was.
Yep.
The trailer had about 3 rooms, which was one for the owner, one for Kayla and her boyfriend, and one was empty, which was the one that the monster took over, correct? Or rented?
Yeah. There was another family living there. It wasn't the owner. The owner lived in
Oh,
another
okay.
trailer.
Oh,
Yeah.
God, it was another family. Okay, thank you for the correction. But it
Yeah.
was three different
Yeah. They
families
were rented,
nonetheless.
and he was only living there for 5 days
For
before.
5 days. Can you imagine, guys? This guy couldn't even last without doing something horrendous. Not even a month. 5 days.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
He came into the country in March of 2022, and he ended up committing the most horrific crime in July. And I don't think this is his first crime. It
No,
cannot be.
absolutely
I,
not.
and the illegal immigrant who owned the trailers, she didn't even have the decency to call me to let me to arrange for me to look through Kayla's stuff. She got
Oh,
all her stuff.
really?
She
Yeah.
got all
Good.
her
Good
stuff
point. How did
together.
that come about? She didn't reach out to you?
She did not reach out. She gathered all of Kayla's stuff together, put it outside. I was able to get in touch with the neighbor. I said, "Can you please go over there and see what you can get of hers?" And she ended up getting her JoJo Suia makeup book bag and a few work name badges I have and a couple of shirts. That's all I have. And when we went, that's all I had. And then when we went up to go visit the trailer, me and her Nana went after everything was cleaned out. We had to go see the trailer. We're like, I have to go up there. And then on the porch was Kayla's bicycle. with her mask still in it. She had a Jojo Suya mask in her basket, and it was still sitting there the way she left it. And I'm like, it was just so heartbreaking. I'm like, we're taking this bike. This is our bike. We're taking it. So we ended up taking the bike back home with us to Virginia.
Wow. It seems that she was a young woman, but she still was like a child at heart, correct?
Yes.
Wow. Um, TX Cowgirl is saying illegals, not migrants. Guys, you have to understand, I have to be careful. I have to protect my platform. So I like to use migrant because they're watching me. Believe me. You can watch my last video about this. I explained it very well why I call them migrants. Um, okay, so were you able, by the way, to enter the room?
Um, it was empty. The trailer was empty. We were looking
Oh, the whole
around.
thing was empty.
Yes, everybody moved out. Like everybody was gone
Wow.
because they didn't want to be there. I mean, of course, I didn't want to be, and
Right.
um, it was empty. And I um, I tried the doorknob on the trailer, and it was open. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going in. The police didn't care. Like they're like, yeah, you can go in. I don't want to think people was breaking and entering, but the door was unlocked.
Right. Right.
So I go and
Imagine they arrest you, right? Out of all people.
yeah.
I mean,
So
that would be like the
I'm
end at that
like,
point.
oh, I'm like, I got to go in, and it was just, it was so sad and surreal to be standing in that room in Kayla's room where she was murdered. Like we just had to see, to go and get that part of the process over with. Part of the grieving process. Me and her Nana went, and then
Inside the actual room.
inside the actual room. And then we did put up a memorial, a little cross and her picture and flowers, and we go up there when we can and place things at her memorial in front of the trailer park, because the neighbors did have a little memorial thing set up in front of her trailer, but the well, I know you said you can't say illegal immigrant, but the migrant who owned the
You can say it. I can't, but you can
oh,
say
okay.
it.
So the illegal immigrant that threw out her stuff also threw out the memorial thing that the neighbors set up, and the neighbors were really upset about it. So we put it up in front of her trailer. I mean, in
They
front
were
of the
upset about
trailer.
it. Why were they upset about it?
I don't know. She didn't want anything left of hers. She didn't want any of her stuff there. She didn't want any of the candles that the neighbors
Mhm.
lit. So I just set up a little memorial in front of the trailer park, and we go
Got
visit
it.
there when we're up there.
Got it. So just not in it, but just in front of it, where you can
Yeah, and
easily
yeah,
get to
kind of
it.
like on the city side where the city owns is
Yeah.
where we put it, and we visit it whenever we get a chance when we go up there.
I see. Mima in the comment section is saying, Tammy, I'm so sorry for your loss. This should have never happened.
Thank
I
you. I
agree.
appreciate everyone's support
Yeah.
and prayers.
Yeah. Um, Sina earlier asked, how's the boyfriend doing? And Mrs. Ramirez is also asking, Tammy, does the boyfriend at the time still keep in touch with you? I cannot imagine how he feels. So do you have any updates on the boyfriend? Do you keep in
We
touch, or do you talk to him after this happened?
He just totally like disappeared from social media. He doesn't. He's got to be messed up to see that at such a young age. He's really heartbroken. Um, I don't. We don't. I haven't heard from him since it happened.
So he completely just
Yeah,
disappeared.
just disappeared.
Wow.
And he was really emotional, saying, that he doesn't know how he's going to live without her and stuff. And he's just, I'm sure, he's dealing with a lot right now too. So I just can't
Of
imagine
course.
what he's going through at such a young age.
Wow. Danielle is asking how old are they? Kayla was 20 and the boyfriend, I believe you said, was 22.
22. Yeah, just a young
Yes.
couple. Just
Yeah. Cine Girl is asking, are they suing Biden? No. Tammy Nobles is suing DHS, and that process is still ongoing. Correct, Tammy?
yes, we are waiting
Yeah.
for them to respond to the claim that we filed in October.
Do you think that they will settle? First of all, are they allowed to settle a case like this?
I'm not sure. DHS is Department of Homeland Security. I don't know. I don't know how it works. This is the first of its kind, so
Got it.
I don't
Yeah.
know. Oh, this is, and it's not about winning or losing for me. It's more about showing them that they need to be held accountable
Yeah.
and that
Yep.
I'm going to try
They're
to do
wrong.
something
They
and to
were
bring
absolutely wrong.
awareness. Like
Yeah.
nothing will ever bring my baby back. But if I could
Nothing. Yeah.
save someone else's child or others' lives, then I did exactly what I was meant to do. And I
Well,
feel
because it's like your attorney said, Tammy. Your attorney said that this could be a law changing case.
yes, and it can, and I hope others will follow. Because I know there's a lot more that has been hurt by this. By illegal immigrants. By gang members, and nobody knows how to go about it. I didn't even know how to go about it. I feel like God has been there and was giving me the next step, and everything fell into place, and it's just happening the way it's supposed to. And I don't even know how it got like this. I've just been following, what I feel is right, and I feel like this is right, and sharing her story.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you found this attorney. By the way, a great attorney that you got there. Brewski's girl is asking, do you think they'll respond before the deadline? And if not, what's the next step? What do you know what deadline she's talking about?
I believe she's talking about the 6 months where they have 6 months to respond
Okay.
from the claim. And then, depending on if they respond or not, then we will, if they don't respond, we will file the claim to sue in March is the deadline.
Got it. King Tuts, thank you so much for the subscription. I appreciate it. Guys, any subscription you make, any gifts you send, it's very appreciated. You don't have to clearly, but it allows me to spend more time on these platforms researching stories like this and continue to keep you informed. But if you can't, that's fine too. Please at least tap the like, share it, like the videos, and of course follow. It's very important. It helps the algorithm so that more people can watch all of these videos and streams as well. Tammy, so then you were able to enter the room. Were you able to find some peace after this when you exit the room?
A little, but not. The not knowing what happened is painful, and just thinking about what she went through. Um, I don't think I'm never gonna heal from what happened. And I just can't imagine, you know, going 10, 20 years without her being here. It's just crazy how sudden it happened. Like, how can your child be here and then just gone the next? It's, I just can't, my mind just cannot wrap around what happened. I know what happened to her, but where did she, where did she go? Like, she was here and then now she's not here.
Do you still sometimes wake up thinking like maybe this is not real?
I did in the beginning, but I had to keep waking every morning for a couple weeks after it happened. When I woke up in the morning, I had to remind myself what happened. Like, I had to, saying she's gone, So I have to, for the first couple weeks, I know she's gone, but it's just the suddenness of it, that your child's here one minute and then gone the next. It's just, it's, it's the worst pain that a parent can ever go through.
Do you think that this upcoming election in November will be important when it comes to the southern border, or do you think it's going to be just the same thing regardless of who wins?
I'm hoping whoever wins would make changes at the border to make sure that they're doing their jobs and that they're following the proper protocol and things are going to change. We need things to change for the better, not for the worst.
Got it. Um, well, guys, this story was very heartbreaking. It is heartbreaking. And if you know, again, if you're joining now, please do research on Google. Kayla Hamilton's story is just beyond unbelievable. And Tammy Nobles is the mother. She's here tonight. I'm very thankful that she was able to take the time to join for this interview so she can, and she shared Kayla Hamilton's story, which I believe every American should listen to. Complete tragedy. And this guy, once again, he was in that trailer within 5 days, and he just committed that horrendous crime. Incredible. Do you know who was paying his rent? Was it the brother, right? The
I
the
have no
half brother,
idea
because he
how.
wasn't working. This guy,
I mean, he wasn't even living there long enough to pay rent, so I
right?
don't know
Well,
if he
yeah, that's
did or
another
not.
thing.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you,
have
Mima.
no idea how that all.
No, yeah, so there's no information on that.
But we will know. They wouldn't even. The detectives wouldn't even give us a copy of the public report. So we just
When
have
you
to
say
get
detectives, were these like detectives from the state or
from the investigation that investigated her.
her
Her
case?
case. Yeah.
Got it. So it wasn't your
Everything will
detectives,
be
right?
out. Um,
It wasn't your private detectives, right? Like you didn't
no,
hire an
it's
additional.
Aberdeen detective, and everything will be explained in court more. And we did learn a lot from Jim Jordan's report. So if you Google Jim Jordan, Kayla Hamilton case, there's a report, and you could read a lot of the details that we didn't even know in there. That's where we learned a lot of the stuff in there.
That's right, guys. You can Google Jim Jordan, Kayla Hamilton case. I did, and the first thing that shows up is the murder of Kayla
Yep.
Hamilton, a case for immigration enforcement and border security. So it's about 9 pages long, and it has the information that Tammy is referring to. Cora in the comment section is saying, "I stand with you, Tammy. My heart is with you."
Thank you, Cora.
Yeah, and Danielle is saying very tragic. Um, so you don't have a lot of these details, obviously, because it's going to court. Uh, did your attorney, by the way, say that that was fair for the authorities to keep some of these details? I mean, you're the mother.
Um, I was talking to a lot of parents. I'm part of the Parents of Murder Children group, and a lot of them say the same thing, that everything is usually withheld anyway until
Interesting,
trial.
huh? So it's the norm, so to speak.
It's the norm, which I
That's
didn't
so
know.
weird, right? I
It
don't get
is,
that.
but I guess they don't want certain, like a lot of things to get out. The
Hmm.
things that I am sharing is ones that is on the public report, and I don't know a whole lot. I just know some of the details, and I don't. I still don't know a whole lot. And I learned a lot from Jim Jordan's report too. So
Got it. Username King Tut's mom is saying, Tammy, we all stand with you. I'm glad to hear that.
thank you.
Yeah. Um, so, okay, so you're unable to get all of these details because I guess the legality of it, which is a little bit odd. You mentioned you're part of this group of murdered children.
Yeah,
Is this like by illegal immigrants, by migrants, or just in general?
just by everything in general.
In general. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you heard, by the way, from other mothers or parents that have suffered a similar scenario with migrants?
No, I haven't.
No. Okay. Do you know of any group, by the way, for the record?
No.
No. Okay. Um Cena Girl is asking, Tammy, did anyone from the Biden administration talk to you, uh, or will their with their condolences?
No, they have not.
No, they have not. Got it. Um, Lulu is saying, "I stand with you," but also why she didn't finalize the comment there. But yeah, wow, it's I mean, this story just has so many things to look into, obviously from the tragedy that we all know about, but also how this supposedly minor ended up with an unverified sponsor. And then the unverified sponsor sort of gave into the half brother. It's just like the whole thing is a mess. And then, by the way, is it verified that that's his half brother? We don't know that either, right?
We don't know. That's what the police said, that it was his half brother.
That's what they said.
Yes. And his
Wow.
half brother had a job and was doing what he was supposed to do, do
Hmm.
and get a job and follow the laws. And now he is going to be deported because of his murderer brother, half brother.
Yeah.
So now his
King
life. Now,
King Tut's mom is saying, Tammy, you should meet Trump. Would you be willing to meet with President Trump or Biden if the opportunity arose?
yeah, I would if the
What would you
opportunity
say? What would you
arose.
say to them
I
if
would,
they were able to hear you?
I would, I would show, I would tell Biden and both Trump my story, and I would show them pictures and video and have them look at what happened, with the unsecured border and you not following. I mean, especially Biden, like you're not making sure he's the one supposed to be, making sure that people are doing their jobs and keeping us safe, and he's not.
Tammy, do you believe or do you feel that the Biden administration is to blame or partly blame for what happened to Kayla?
Yes, they are. They are.
Got it. Um, I mean, Tammy, I really hope that time helps you with this horrific event. I mean, I can only imagine what you feel, and especially when these dates come along. Do you like what do you do last year? Do you end up going over there to that memorial that you set up for her, or what do you usually do on her anniversary, or what are you looking to do for for the next one?
Well, the last one we did a butterfly release at a public park here in Virginia Beach, Virginia. Last year, the Maryland crime victim unit, they did a little memorial for children who was involved in homicide. We went to that. I'm not. We haven't really thought about what we were going to do this year, since her court date. The trial is going to be from like June 26th till like July 16th, and her death date is July 27th. So it's going to be really close. Trial's going to be really close to her her heaven date, and the prosecutor said that sentencing for can happen in about a month or two. It's not right after. So we'll have to go right back up there when it's time for sentencing.
Got it. Um, Mineral is saying in the comment section, Tammy, I can't begin to express my sympathies. I stand with you and your precious baby.
Thank you, Mineral Criminal. Hi,
Uh,
the Italian.
um, Tammy, do you mind telling us about the GoFundMe? I did find this when I was looking into this story. Talk to us about that.
I started a GoFundMe called Help Kayla Hamilton Find Justice. I started it because in the beginning we weren't sure if they were actually investigating, because you don't hear a lot of stuff until after. And then we found out that they did investigate. And we live in Virginia, so we've already made many trips to Maryland back and forth talking to the prosecutor, going up there for meetings for the detective. I've already been to DC twice. I also went down to Florida for the grand jury on border issues. And we're going to have many trips to Maryland also, even before court. We're going to be going back and forth, and we're not going to be, and trial's going to be for 2 to 3 weeks. And we're not going to be able to work or do anything while we're up there. And we're going to have to get an Airbnb, and the state of Maryland does not pay for your lodging. So we're going to have to pay for our lodging for the 2 to 3 weeks or longer while we're up there. So I just started that to help with the expenses, and also for me to be able to share my story and to continue sharing it and meeting whoever wants to hear her story, and so we can use that to go back and forth and stuff.
Got it. Thank you, Lynn Flower 20. I appreciate it. Cynical saying, Vega, can you put the GoFundMe in the comments? I'm going to try to, I Googled it, Tammy, but I found two. Let me know which one is the right one. One says bring Kayla Hamilton justice. I'm guessing that's
it.
That's
Kayla.
it.
And we also did the one for her funeral, but of course we've already taken care of that.
Got it. So which one do you want me to put in the comment section?
Bring Kayla Hamilton justice.
Got it. And that one's still open, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to type it right here, guys. You can Google this. Okay. Oh, that didn't copy correctly. Let me try to do that one more time. There you go. You can just Google this, guys, and that will bring you to that page, and you can help. Anything you can, I mean, helps. And it would be greatly appreciated, I'm sure, by Tammy and her family.
I received a lot of, I appreciate all the outpouring love and support and prayers and the generous donations.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And this is where, stuff like this really gets me angry because, instead of spending billions of dollars in others that will most likely never appreciate it anyway, we should be looking into stories like this, and the federal government should be behind American citizens, not the other way around. But that's the reality we're in today, guys. And I know that Tammy wants to keep the political aspect out of it, but in my opinion, I think when it gets to this level, it's very political at this point. And we really need to pay attention because we don't want this to happen to anyone else. I mean, it shouldn't happen ever again. But I'm scared that probably it will happen again, unfortunately. So please be very careful. Please be very, very careful. Tammy, would you be able to come back on this show maybe some months later when we have more updates about your case? Would that be okay with you?
Yeah. Yeah. And I would like to come back even when we're like after court and stuff, and share
Awesome.
and stuff.
Thank you so much, Tammy. Please keep me updated. I do cover a lot of stories, so it's hard for me to keep track of everything. But if you get any updates or anything and you want to come on, let me know. I'll have you on. I wouldn't even think about it. Just let me know, keep me posted, because my account has been growing at an amazing pace. And I want to thank you guys for that, by the way. It's only about 55 people watching right now, but trust me, my videos get seen by a lot of people. I'm averaging, I think, over 1 million views a month. And it continues to increase. So, my followers are just continue to grow both on YouTube and TikTok. Thank you, Mima. So I do want to bring Tammy back when we have a large following, so that more people can hear the story if she's available, of course, and then to get updates from this case, because we should not forget about Kayla Hamilton's name ever. This name should continue to be out there, and everybody should know who Kayla Hamilton is. So as long as my platform is open, that's why I try to be careful with what I say, because they want to shut me down, by the way. They do. You don't see it, but a lot of my videos have been taken down. That's why I encourage you to go to my YouTube channel. It's the same username at VegaAxis. Thank you, hopefully. Go to my YouTube channel and subscribe, because that's my backup. In case they kick me out of here, I will be mostly on YouTube. So please follow me there. Follow me here. Anything you can to support this platform is greatly appreciated. I will have Tammy back for sure. Thank you, Debbie. I will have, and hopefully you're amazing. Hopefully you rock. I appreciate you. I will have Tammy back with more updates at some point. And again, more people will hear this story, at least from my end, because my platform continues to grow. And I'm sure that by the time Tammy returns, this platform will be much bigger than it is today. But I do want to thank you, Tammy, for taking your time again for doing this. And I do have to wrap up now this live. But is there anything you want to share, Tammy, in regards to Kayla Hamilton, maybe that we don't know about her, you haven't shared yet? Anything else that you would like us to know about Kayla?
The one song that we played at her memorial that describes Kayla is "Girls Just Want to Have Fun." We don't have a lot of stuff of hers, but we still have her cat Oreo. He's pictured in the picture there, and I'm grateful that I have some of her stuff and her cat.
That's right. So that was one of the songs that she enjoyed. Girls Just Want to Have Fun. Keep that in mind, guys. She seemed like a very sweet-spirited person, and you can tell, I mean, even from her pictures, you get that energy of just, she was very friendly by what we see and what she described, and that's what I tell you guys. Please be careful. Be very careful out there. We're not in that world that it was, I don't know, 50 years ago. I get a lot of people on this panel saying, but back in the 50s or 60s when immigrants came, it's not the same, guys. Yeah. It is not the same. We cannot compare 50 years ago to now. Be very cautious. Please be very cautious. Keep your family safe. Keep your family safe. Keep in touch and be very cautious, please. Tammy, thank you again for coming. I appreciate you. And again, I'm so sorry for your loss. I really hope that things get better. And I hope that this case does make a huge change for the country and for the safety of all of us here. And thank you for standing up and having the courage to going on all of these interviews, by the way. You've done a lot of interviews, I've seen.
It's exhausting, but it's worth it. This is what I want to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure it is, because you're going over the same story, correct?
Yes, the same story, the same facts, the same thing. Also, right before Kayla was murdered, she wanted to go see the new Minions movie. And
wow.
She didn't get a chance.
Wow.
And that's kind of like how she was. She was very innocent.
Wow. So sorry, Tammy. I mean, seriously, I really hope that things come around in this case for you, for her, for justice for her, and making a statement too, for all of those Americans that are looking for a change. We need to be safer. We shouldn't be having to be scared, We shouldn't have to be worrying about any of this.
No.
We shouldn't.
No.
Yeah. Thank you, Ophelia, so much. I appreciate it. Thank you, everyone, again. I will see you again on Monday is my next live. I'm doing lives Monday through Thursday. And that's because I also create content for you guys to keep you updated with stories like this and what's happening at the border and, a lot of other things. So I need time to also create content. It's very time consuming, believe it or not. So I will see you guys again on Monday, 5:15 p.m. Pacific, 8:15 p.m. Eastern time. Mima said, hashtag justice for Tammy. And I agree. That being said, I do want to give a quick shout out to my subscribers, King Tut, Chris22, Soulless Ginger, Mima, Gary P, Freedom Print Shop, Deb the Navy Brat, and Cynthia. I appreciate you guys a lot. Tammy, thank you again. And I'll be talking to you.
Yes, thank
Keep
you.
me updated, please.
I will. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night, guys.